lot of people did not think there would be a Game 7, Josue. Um, but we're getting one. You're in Indy right now. You got to check out of your hotel, so this won't be a long show. But Josue's here. Um, Last time you were here, I think we were talking about the Celtics, the team that you covered for many years.
We were, right? I was thinking that going into it. I was like, was I still covering the Celtics the last time I talked to Bryan? But
So,
yeah, man,
so you as a on the ground beat reporter.
it's cool. What a year will do, Bryan, in this damn industry, right? Is that what you're about to say?
No, just slash editor at Clutch Points. Follow Josue's work. You might get. First of all, you got back-to-back finals. You might get 2 rings. We'll see. But Boston won last year against Dallas. This year you got OKC and Indy. But I mean, people thought this was going to be over in like 5 going into the series.
Yeah.
I even flirted with that possibility. I ended up not betting on anything pre-series until we saw a couple games, and I was like, all right.
I mean, betting on who won that day or that game, that was the narrative, right? It just keeps switching over and over. But yeah, I got you.
All right, this is great. So we're getting Game 7, Josue Pavon. Follow him at Joe_Sway on Twitter. He's been doing great work covering the Thunder and previously the Celtics, in which I believe, and I'm sure you still have ties to. Game 6 happens, and it is an ass whooping. Just it was 10-2. It was 10-2 Thunder, and then that was it. That was it. It looked like it was going to go in the other direction, but then Indy does what they do. Just where are you at? Initial thoughts now that Game 7 is going to be a thing. Our first Game 7 in 9 years in the NBA Finals, and I will note a couple different stats, one of which is this is the 20th Game 7 in the finals in NBA history. The home team has won 15 times. So going into Game 7, your thoughts are what, Josue?
Man, this could be probably one of the greatest games in NBA Finals history, or we could see OKC, get out to a big lead, give it up, and then take it in the fourth quarter to a point where they're up by 15. I mean, if we look at what history tells us, that's what we should see, right, Bryan? I mean, this team, they win after losses. Like, they respond in a big, big way after an L. It's been the case throughout the regular season. It's been the case throughout the postseason. However, on this stage, with the lights shining brighter than ever, can they still come together and put together that big performance? Because when you look at Game 6, and obviously, it was in their territory, Pacers' house. I mean, I expected a big fight out of the Pacers, and obviously that's what we got. But what I didn't expect, or I didn't anticipate rather, was that, I don't know, what, 6, 7 of the Thunder's rotation was just, they just looked shell-shocked, man. Like, it just like it was too much for them. Like that, I didn't expect that. I mean, when you look at the box score, you look at, even through the eye test, right? I mean, SGA didn't have a great performance, but man, like, he was giving them something, like J-Dub, it came in stretches, but it was something that you could see they could build off of. But a lot of these other guys, man, they were just completely taken out of the game. If that happens in Oklahoma City, I would be completely shocked. It would be the most unpredictable, it would be one of the biggest chokes that I've seen in a while, to be honest with you, Bryan, because of the way this team has led, the entire NBA in such a big way, in such a large margin throughout the regular season, cruise through the postseason. But again, you can say all that, but my main thing I'm going to zero in on is how this team responds after losses. And if what history has shown us throughout this entire postseason, regular season, if that's what we're in store for, then that's exactly what we should see. But again, man, the heart of this Indiana Pacers team, the mind of this head coach and Rick Carlisle, which I feel like has sort of gone overlooked, maybe before the series, but especially throughout this NBA Finals, man. He's done a terrific job with this team. And man, I just feel like a lot of what we saw was a byproduct. In Game 6, right, was a byproduct of a Pacers team back against the wall, desperate. They were the more desperate team for sure, and everyone just coming together and just whether it was inspired by Tyrese Halliburton still giving it a go or just playing in front of their fans, man. They were gonna give it their absolute best, and it didn't even come close in the sense of what the Oklahoma City Thunder, a sense of their effort. I mean, it was just overmatched in so many different ways.
I'm surprised you used the C word, the CH word, I should say.
What's that?
Choked.
Oh yeah, I mean, they better come correct.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, look, these two, the All-Star, the pair of All-Stars this team has. I'm not worried about that. Chet Holmgren, he's got to put his money where his mouth is. I mean, he pretty much told us, look, above anything, I will play better next game, and he's done that before, and I'm expecting that. So we'll see.
He looked really good in the first 3 minutes, and then he just got his ass beat.
I didn't see him after that, Brian. I mean, where was he? It's incredible how the Pacers took him out of the game, and it was to the point where you're like, you knew he wasn't going to flip a switch in that second half. It was unbelievable the way they defended.
We'll preview Game 7 in a sec. Just more on Game 6 real quick. I'm pulling up on Basketball Reference, obviously the box score, so we can look through some of the things that stood out. Jalen Williams was a -40. I heard that last night while watching the game, and I couldn't believe it. But at the same time, I did see that Caitlin Cooper, who covers the Thunder really well, posted about the emphasis on Siakam guarding him more, which I found interesting. It wasn't a look that we saw a ton going into the series. I thought that we probably could have, but it makes sense why it was done in spurts, because you need Siakam to generate a lot of the offense, especially when Tyrese Halliburton is hampered. One of the things that I found interesting is that they pulled the plug early. OKC did, because they kind of was like, all right, we'll see you at the crib. Nobody broke 30 minutes outside of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I wonder if that's going to be like a little rest thing to watch going forward. And then with Indiana, and I want to toss this to you real quick. With Indiana, they took a little bit longer, but still they ended up like monitoring the minutes really well. I mean, what do you think they did that can carry over into a road Game 7? Because I don't look at this like, oh, the home team's definitely going to win, especially when, and I'll throw this at you, the last 3 times that we've gotten a Game 7 in the conference finals or finals, the home team was winning at half and then lost outright. This has happened 3 straight times.
That's right. Wow.
And that's Indy's bag. You know what I mean? Like, man. So tell me about like what you see from Indiana heading into Game 7.
I see, defensively, what they've done, throughout the entire series wasn't exactly what we saw in Game 6, right? That full court pressure, I think the fact that they're starting to just apply that pressure, they're waiting out a little bit. I feel like that's helped them because they're not so exhausted when things get really going, because both of these teams can really run the floor and the fast breaks are going. And, I just think that's really been helping the Oklahoma City Thunder when their defense, is able to put together 2-3 stops. All of a sudden it's a 9-0 run. I mean, that's essentially been a formula for a lot of those blowout wins throughout the regular season. But the Indiana Pacers can fight right back. I mean, that's why it's been such a entertaining series, the way these two teams adjust, mid-game. But I think that's the biggest one that stands out to me. And I thought it was interesting that, SGA brought that up after the game, because normally it seemed like something that he wouldn't bring up, especially when you look at earlier in the series when he was really rattled, and he just couldn't find his offensive rhythm. And he got pissed off if someone mentioned Andrew Nembhard or anybody who was rattling him, or if he seemed uncomfortable, which I feel like was a legit question if you ask me, because it was true. I didn't get that same sense in Game 6, from an individual standpoint. Mm-hmm. But the rest of the team, man, they just look like, the ball just wasn't moving, and I feel like a lot of that had to do with just the defensive pressure and these guys just unable to get into their stuff. And when they did, there's 5 seconds left on the shot clock. I just think the Indiana Pacers did a really good job of just making the most of those defensive stops, obviously, but also just never letting the Oklahoma City Thunder get into an offensive rhythm. And then it got to the point where you could just see Dagnall was setting up threes going into that second half, and that's never the recipe for these guys to get back into a game. Organically, yes, when the threes are there, but when they're forcing the issue the way they were, that's bad, man. And the Pacers, especially against this Pacers team that can really get going off of empty possessions. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, that's when really the game blew open for these guys, for the Pacers in that third quarter.
I'm looking at the advanced numbers for Indy. Miles Turner was a 43 offensive rating. That's hilarious. It would be very Indiana if Miles Turner, who hasn't hit a shot seemingly all series, just goes 6 for 7 from three in Game 7 on the road. It would be very fitting. Just ridiculous efficiency across the board, though. You're looking at a true shooting percentage for a team, even with Miles Turner's 15% in true shooting, above 50%, like at 52 as a unit. Whereas OKC, I mean, while they were at 53, the turnovers really tell a bigger story because you saw them. I mean, Indy had 16 steals. The NBA Finals record is 19 for a team, which OKC did challenge multiple times in this series. I know because I have a bet on that. I think I think it's so fascinating to just see like where this is heading. Tell me about the mood, I guess. OKC were they pissed off about this? I would imagine they had to be to some extent, right? Like, just what were the things that they were saying in these post-game pressers in the locker room that stood out to you going into Game 7?
I mean, it's just the mood's always the same. I mean, I just think that's what's so great about this team. They're able to kind of just like hit the reset button and go on to the next, and especially with Coach Dagnall. I mean, that he's they really follow his lead in that regard, and I feel like when we spoke to SGA, when we spoke to Jalen, or even Chet, I told you, Chet said that no matter what, he's going to respond in Game 7. You just get the sense that they know what they need to do, and it's just a matter of doing it, especially on that big stage. But again, I just, those three guys are the ones that I'm least worried about. I just feel like when it comes to this team, closing out any series, which has been the case throughout, especially against the Denver Nuggets, it's always been that group effort, where everyone's involved and, 4, 5, 6 people scoring double figures. But it's not even just about the points, but in the sense of defensively putting together stop. I just didn't see that. I mean, the fact that the Pacers were able to just really dig in the way they did. And obviously, the 3-point shot really helped in a way, especially in that first half. But I just think when it comes down to it, being back at the Paycom Center in front of that home crowd, I just think like Dagnall said, it's what they worked for all year, to have that opportunity to have a Game 7 at their crib, like you said, and just bounce back from what we saw in Game 6, man. It was definitely a beating for sure, and it wasn't something that anyone anticipated. But that's the fight in this Pacers team, and I expect them, honestly, a lot of what we saw in Game 6 to translate into Game 7. I mean, maybe not a lot of the shooting that we saw in that first half. I mean, for some reason, Obi Toppin just is a different person when he plays, here in Indianapolis. But I do expect that same defensive intensity to really challenge these guys, especially in that first half, to essentially to show who wants it more. That's really what it's going to come down to, and who's most focused in that kind of environment at the Paycom.
Yeah, and I think with Indy, there's going to be a lot of people who are just, this is the trend. The home team should win. The better team should win in OKC. And no matter what stat you throw out there with Indy, it just doesn't fucking matter. It just doesn't matter. They don't care. They're like, yo, we're the most defiant team in the NBA. They're, I think, will to just stay in games at all costs. Right. That's what ultimately is going to, if they do win this, is going to be the reason they win this championship. Along with everything else and the way they play and the ball movement, the infectious ball movement.
And that's what worries me, Brian, a little bit for the Thunder, man, when it comes to just if the Pacers hang around just throughout that second half and going into the fourth, man, they're in position to make that run. And when I mean stick around, I'm talking I don't know, down 8, 9. I mean, that's nothing for this Pacers team. Nothing. And it's been the story throughout the entire postseason. So, man, I just, it's so fitting for these two to go to distance, because the path that they've gone to get here, it's just been like you said. I mean, Pacers is easily the most defiant team in the NBA because of the way they're able to come back in games and the way that the most unpredictable comebacks have been pulled off by them. And then at the same time, you look at the Thunder, where it's yes, they always respond in a big way after losses, and they're trying to get their first championship in franchise history, you know, and all the signs show that they should win this game, but of course, or should have won the series, but of course, it's forced to a game 7, you know, because that's just sort of it's like that reminder of their age, you know, which has been a question narrative throughout this entire finals. And then you look at the head coach matchup, who's most experienced. I mean, Carlisle gets the edge in that head-to-head, you know. So it's just so many like storylines going into this, and of course, like we get our season finale as a game 7 between the two. It just makes perfect sense, man. Storybook ending.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Couple things here to jump out to me, just looking at the stats for the series in totality now, not just for game 6. Shea and Jalen Williams both under 30% from 3. Now, I know that OKC is great enough to overcome that because they generally have when they've struggled. They don't struggle often because of their defense. And the thing, though, is right underneath to me. Chet Holmgren is 2 for 17 from 3 in this series. Hasn't felt like that bad, but I think if you're an OKC fan, you're probably like, oh yeah, like it's felt like that. Chet, who I was worried about going into the series because I'm like, he's very young. Indy, even though they're a finesse team, they could also be a physical team. If he's going to have Pascal Siakam, or if he's going to, whether switches or whether it's just man to man, like Pascal Siakam can bump him out of the way pretty easily. We've seen Chet get caught on a lot of like just different bad situations on defense, and then just going on down. Lou Dort being 15 of 29 from 3 is shocking to me. Given that when he misses, he misses.
Yeah. It's either that's so true, man. It's so true. It's either like 1 for 8 or he's gonna go like 5 for 7. Like there's nothing in between.
But so his shit has a distinct just
thud,
thud off the backboard, and it's like, bro, damn.
He arcs that thing, man. That's what it is. But
he's got at least 1-3 off the backboard.
I always say if you see him make a couple in that first half, look out.
Yeah, forget it.
He'll finish with about 5 or 6, you know. Yeah.
But role players at home is a thing. I do wonder how it's going to be for the Lou Dorts, the Aaron Wiggins of the world.
Those are the ones those are ones in question. Yeah, for sure.
And Isaiah Joe also, who had a DNP, and then we saw him again last night. He's been the sample size is very small. It's just 5 for 9 from 3 in the series, but they need him to be more effective ultimately too. And then just going over to the Indy side real quick. I mean, I think Pascal Siakam is the Finals MVP if Indy wins this series.
No doubt. He's done everything for these guys, man. He's been easily the most consistent for sure. And I think that's one of the weapons that, you know, if I'm looking at how the Pacers put this together, you know, going to Paycom Center, like that's the guy who's going to be a constant threat, you know, on both ends of the floor, especially when they're in that spot, like I told you about, you know, striking distance, the Pacers version of striking distance, which is essentially like 10-point deficit. You know, like that's in the fourth quarter. Like Siakam is the one that can really get these guys going from playmaking standpoint, from scoring. You know, I feel like he just does so many little things that I feel like have really hurt the Thunder. You know, and you talk about that matchup against Holmgren. And you know what he can do, especially from if he gets going from behind the arc too, which we haven't seen a big sense, but that could be his game. You know, that could be what we see in Game 7. So yeah, man. I mean, either way, I expect a heck of a fight from both teams for sure. And Thunder should win, but if there's one team in this entire NBA that can make sure that doesn't happen or shock the world, it's the Pacers for sure. No question.
I would agree with that. Okay. Let's get into why each team could win. If Oklahoma City wins, how do they do it? How do they sort of just get this done? It's just going to have to be defense. Is it going to have to be a blowout? Like, how did the Oklahoma City Thunder ultimately win Game 7?
It's the defense. No question. I mean, stringing together stops and turning them into buckets. Like that's really been the formula for this team. That's been the backbone for this historically great defensive team. You know, if you look at the records, if you look at the numbers, it's a team that we haven't seen defensively in a long time, man. If you ask me, Brian, and I just think like that's what they have to get back to. and establish themselves in Game 7, because that's what catapults their offense, man. When they're going downhill, it can get ugly, and it can happen in a hurry. That's when you see them go on these huge runs, grab anywhere near a 20-point lead, and then that defense just makes it hard for teams to come back. I just think if we're gonna see a game like that, like that's how it plays out, in a sense of the Thunder win comfortably. And the 3-point shot is a big part of that, but more so the defense. I just think that's what translates. This entire run, when you look at just the way the Thunder put together wins, especially at the Paycom Center, that's pretty much what it looks like. It's always the defense that really just holds teams to having, what was it, like 17, 18 first quarter, like that's when you kind of get that sense, or even like 20, and they're able to build a double-digit lead and just pretty much teeter with it, until the fourth quarter, or the third quarter rather, coming out of halftime, and they really create that separation. I mean, coming out of halftime has been a big part of what the Thunder have done. And 5 minutes, I want to say, or even 4 minutes into that third quarter, when I got a sense that this team was probably going to lose and head into Game 7, that was it, and coming up empty and just really forcing the issue from behind the three, to start the second half. That's when you knew that they were really going to have a hard time to come back.
So I think OKC is better, but one, it's not by that much, because I respect Indy a ton. I think they're legitimate, and I have since before the season. I had their over. I was like, they could be a 50-win team, top 4 in the East, and win at least the playoff series, or if not 2. They've overachieved on all those fronts. I think they were exactly a 50-win team, so got that. But I think ultimately with OKC, here's where I'm at. I think they're better, but I almost feel like, not almost, I do feel like, in Game 7, I trust Indy more to not be rattled, so to speak. And it's not just because they're on the road and for whatever reason they've been beasts on the road the entire playoffs.
Yeah.
It's also because OKC, like, I've seen them get tight. I don't know if it's youth and experience or whatever, but like some people are like, oh, OKC's just going to win this in Game 7 because now they have won. They played Game 6 like they have a game in hand, especially after halftime. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, man, like Indy kind of has you in a preferred situation here. Like OKC, I trust Shea. I mostly trust Jalen Williams. Everyone else, and I trust Alex Caruso.
Yeah, I could add him to the list earlier.
Yeah. Everyone else, I'm kind of like, I don't know. Whereas with Indy, I'm like, I know Tyrese Halliburton is not 100%. I don't expect him to, like, he has his disappearing acts occasionally. I don't think this is going to be one of those. I fully trust Pascal Siakam. If he has a bad game, it's just because he misses shots. He's not going to do anything horribly wrong, I don't think. Miles Turner can figure out ways to be effective even when he's not hitting his shot because he's a very good defensive player. He was somebody who was getting Defensive Player of the Year consideration years ago. Like, just going up and down, I'm a little shaky on OKC. I feel like the start is important, although they had a rough start against Denver, as you know, and then that turned into an ass whooping pretty quickly. So maybe I'm off here, but what do you think?
Yeah, no, you're not off. I mean, in the same sense, the same way, we're wondering who's going to come up big, or can these guys step up to the challenge outside of the All-Stars and Alex Caruso. You can kind of say the same thing about the Pacers. I mean, going into Game 6, I'm thinking to myself, man, if Nesmith has a huge game, because I feel like he's been due, then they could make up for some of what they're going to lack offensively from Tyrese Halliburton. Or, if Mathurin comes off the bench and has a big game like he did, what was it, Game 4, right? What was it, Game 3? Wait, 4 or 3?
I think it was, let me check. I'm pretty sure it was 4. No, I'm pretty sure it was it? Yeah. No, it was 3.
No,
27
they took the lead. They went 2-1 in the series.
Yeah, that makes total sense. He had 27 and 22 minutes, 9 of 12 shooting,
Yeah, that was the
And
one.
he was pretty good in game 2, although it was different. It was much different. He was very
Right.
impactful in game 3, though. To your point.
So yeah, I'm going into the game thinking that, right? Neither one of them had a really big standout game, but instead that person was Andrew Nemhard, and the way he set the tone defensively really catapulted his offense as well. So I just feel like when you have, if we could see something similar in game 7, and you still have, in my opinion, Matherin, who I think is due, you can see how the Pacers can keep. That's the question. I mean, it hasn't been consistent throughout the entire series, but you could say the same thing about the Cason Wallace and the Isaiah Joe and the Aaron Wiggins series, which I expected him to have, because I feel like he was somewhat due as well. But it just hasn't been that hasn't been the story of the entire postseason. And what I mean by that is like just someone that just comes in, gives you maybe a couple of threes, gives you 6-7 points in the third quarter. All of a sudden he's got like 14, 15. I mean, like that's sort of like the sweet spot in the sense of the kind of production that we've seen. And of course we have the other kind of Aaron Wiggins who's gone off for like 40 points. Or I'm not quite sure that guy's going to show up, but like you get what I'm saying. Like I just think we're questioning. Can these guys show up in the big stage? You can say the same thing about the guys that the Pacers have, who had a big fingerprint on this Game 6 win for the Pacers.
How does Indiana, you think, get this done? Is now what I would ask. If OKC is defense, is Indiana just like trying to run up the pace, and is it just keeping it as close of a game as possible until it's time to strike, whenever that may be?
I think it's that, Brian, in a big way, and I think it's combined with trying to just rattle SGA as much as possible. I mean, when you see this version, I mean, it was so the word was uncharacteristic, as Coach Dagnall said after Game 6. It was very uncharacteristic of SGA to cough up 8 turnovers. I mean, that just doesn't happen. And I feel like when he's rattled, it's just a ripple effect that you just destroy the Thunder's offensive rhythm. Like he really is the head of the snake in so many different ways of what this Thunder team does, whether that's establishing the defensive side of things, or when this team is really trying to find its offense. And SGA, not just from an individual standpoint of scoring, but can't take care of the basketball. I mean, that's really the formula. But yeah, man, keeping things close for sure. The 3-point shot I think is big as well, and winning the rebounding battle I think is also. When you look at the way this team, the Thunder team, has lost in the past, all 3 of those things have played a big part, or a significant part, in the losses.
Okay, last thing before we head out of here, we have to do predictions, because it's Game 7, because the NBA Finals, because of the first NBA Finals Game 7 since 2016. Very different time in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
Kind of.
Yeah, some things never change, Brian. That's true, man. You know how it is. It's America at the end of the day. Some things never change.
Granted, it was before November, but it was still 2016. I had a good one on buckets last night. But I can't remember. It was involving TJ McConnell, is what I'll say, whose name we should probably mention more.
Oh man, okay. You might be able to add him to the list of people we shouldn't be worried about. The Pascal Siakams and the TJ McConnells, man.
You're onto something.
Man, he has been unbelievable, just in the sense of how he's able to control a game in, I don't know, 15 minutes or so.
Like this team in isolation.
Yes.
Like, all right, Jalen Williams, I'll get my shot off against you. I'll do it against Caruso. I'll do it against SGA.
I'll steal the inbound pass about 3 times. Like, it's insane, man. Unbelievable.
TJ McConnell is awesome, and
he really is their Caruso. like he's there. Yo, we got Caruso at the crib. Like, no, we're not.
And it travels.
Yeah.
Like he can do it on the road. He can take over a quarter. He can take over 8 minutes of a quarter, and that could be a deciding factor.
Yeah, man,
it's crazy. Okay, predictions. I will allow you to go first. You cover the OKC Thunder. I think I know where you're gonna go, but I know you have a healthy respect for Indiana, as we've established over the course of 30 minutes. So where are you at for Game 7, and who do you think is going to pull this off, and how?
Okay, so for Game 7, man, I'm gonna go Thunder, just because of what I've seen, man. Just the way this team responds after losses, especially at home. They usually come with it, man. They usually come with that group effort, that team effort, and that's what's gonna take to win against this Pacers team. All these guys have to get involved, but it does start on the defensive end. If you ask me, like that's really when you're gonna know like where the game is going. But I don't expect it to be a blowout like we saw against the Nuggets. I mean, it's eerily similar, like the way everything is played out with this series compared to what happened and what we saw in the second round matchup against the Denver Nuggets, which was easily their biggest test, throughout this postseason. And if you ask me, they got better from that series. So like if all of those lessons can translate, and we see what this team has done, again, all season long, all throughout the postseason, then that should be it. That should be the script. I don't see a blowout though. Not against this Pacers team, man. They got too much heart, man. Too much fight. So maybe like, I don't know, 5-point win or something like that. I mean, again, it's gonna come down to the defense. It's gonna come down to big stops in those like final 90 seconds or 2 minutes where they're able to comfortably, win. It's not gonna be off a game winner or anything like that. But I could be wrong. I mean, that's my prediction, though. I think that's how it plays out.
I'm expecting a rock fight. The total opened at 214, which is the lowest in this series by far for people who don't follow gambling at all. That just means basically the total is each team or both teams to combine for 214 points is sort of what people are going to bet on, either over that or under that. I'm not touching that. But historically, game sevens could be like tense rock fights or whatever. And just the overall tension has me nervous for OKC. Not everybody, as we've established. So to me, I almost feel like it's an OKC a blowout / comfortable win, or Indy wins it close. I feel like it's one or the other. I don't think Indy wins a blowout. I think Indy wins it close. Maybe it's a come from behind, maybe it's not. But I think it's an effort where, okay, this is dicey, and then they just close out strong and do. I don't know if it's similar to game one necessarily, but they do what they've done on and off in the playoffs. So that's where I'm at. I think it's OKC by, we'll call it double digits because the spread is 8.5 points. Which is pretty up.
The fact that they shot 26% from three, or was it 8 for something? Like I'd be really, really surprised if the Thunder do that again.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like
and Lou Dort's gonna bounce back from that 1 for 5, man. Like when his shooting starts looking like tour dates, man, like he's due. He's gonna have one of those games where he has 4 threes or so. So
the only thing I'd be caution is just Indy shot 41% from the field.
Yeah.
And 36% from three with rounding 15 of 42. They got up a lot of 3-point attempts, but
and they took care of the ball, man.
Yeah.
They barely even hit double digits.
And that's how you're able to overcome that shooting performance, which ultimately wasn't awesome. Like, I'm still kind of waiting for Indy to just bug out from three. Like, they haven't had like the 19 for 40, that I've sort of expected. Which is
that's why I'm expecting that huge like defensive response from this Thunder team, because man, that was just so unlike them. And to be back at the crib and all that, but it could be one of those games where both teams cough it up like 17 times too. Like, it's game 7. Like, man, it can go either way.
I feel like it's OKC double digits or Indy close.
Okay.
I have prior positions on OKC in 7 and Pacers in 7, and I also have like a bunch of Finals MVP tickets at long numbers for like Siakam and J-Dub, and now Tyrese is 1,500, and then Shea, I took a Finals MVP because they dropped it down finally to -195, and I'm like, look, ultimately, if OKC wins, I think it'll be Shea.
Same.
But if I had to like nail down one, I'll have the fun prediction of being like OKC wins at halftime and then Indy comes back and steals it, because that would just be very indicative of this run, this entire season, and then the discussions that people like you and I and others are going to have Monday about OKC is like, now should they make a big trade? Should they sniff around Kevin Durant? Should they get Giannis or whatever? But what should happen though? What should happen is OKC wins this. I just have questions that they'll need to answer, and ultimately, if they answer them, they'll be champions. Yeah. If not, then we might have to wait at least another year. But they're young, they're exciting, they're a great team, and this Indy team is the most defiant team since at least, and probably including the Heat from 2 years ago, who were an 8 seed that went to the finals.
Yeah. That was great. That was great advertisement for the playing for the NBA. Like, see, you can be like the Miami Heat, you know? Yeah.
Rob at the buzzer says, "What a job by Miles Turner on defense last night." Yeah, look, the shooting has not come along, but the defense for Miles Turner.
No, he took Chet out the game. He took him out of the game. It's crazy.
2018-19 seasons feels so long ago. The year that the Raptors won the title, Miles Turner was like in Defensive Player of the Year conversations. I remember being in like, is it Miles? Is it Rudy? Is it this person? This person?
Yeah.
That was not a Draymond year. Bam was top 5 in DPOY voting. I don't remember if that was a great Ben Simmons Defensive Player of the Year type of season. I think that may have been
the Giannis in the mix yet, or no? What year was that?
Yeah, Giannis. I think Giannis won MVP that year, actually. Did Giannis win DPOY that year? Actually, hold on. Let me actually see this before we get out of here.
No, I'm curious. You got me thinking.
Yeah, now I'm because there was a year Giannis won both. Okay, no, the next year Giannis
that
won
was the
both.
following year. Okay, yeah.
Rudy won that Defensive Player of the Year. He has 4, which is
he's got 4, but he's probably not gonna get it again. So, but still impressive. Very, very impressive.
He shouldn't have 4, but that's another discussion for another day. That's Josue Pavon. Follow him at Joe_Sway. Clutch Points. He's been covering the Thunder. He writes, he edits, does some video stuff as well. Formerly covering the Celtics, so he has a chance to see. Well, he will see back-to-back champions. It's just a matter of which champion he's going to see actually become champion.
That's Sunday. True, man. It's also my first Game 7 in the finals, man.
Yes,
so really excited.
I'm excited for you. I've known you for a while, so this is cool. This is great.
Appreciate it.
We'll catch up again. Have fun. Safe travels, and to everybody else who saw this after the fact, thank you. Donate to the channel, all these different things. I'll have an organized schedule at some point in the near future.
Yeah, man, we got to continue this, man, because I want to see. Like, I have a lot to say. No matter what happens in Game 7, I'll have a lot to say about it. Yeah, I really.
If you want, we could do it again Monday.
No, I'm down. I'm even down. Yo, let's do it.
We can do it again Monday. We can do it again early.
Same
Monday.
formula too, man. Like fresh out of my slumber. You know what I mean? Like,
we could, yeah. And you'll be home. You'll be home because it's at Oklahoma.
Exactly. I'll be at the crib, man. I'll give you everything for sure.
All right, we'll set that up. We might be back Monday morning, and I'll do a better job of promoting it. I swear to God, I need a producer, bro. I need a producer to help me just like promote, do things and shit. Yeah. We'll figure it out. All right, take care, everybody. We'll talk soon and enjoy Game 7 of the NBA Finals this coming Sunday night.